Hey bass anglers, what makes the best finesse swim bait combination? Can you just slap together any old jig and swim bait and have a great combination that's going to perform and outperform other baits? Not all the time. Today I've got a great secret combination of jig and swim bait that I use to get the most out of my finesse swim bait action. Stick around and we'll talk about the jig and the body that make this thing a special combo. Okay, maybe you have your finesse jig and swim bait combination that works best for you. I'm going to give you one that maybe you haven't heard of. It's a combination of two different brands that both have a unique thing about their individual component that make them really good. The first is the jig head, and I'm using Sixth Sense Finesse jig head. And their finesse jig head has some unique features to it that I think make it special and perform well and perform differently than just any other minnow-shaped head or any other ball-shaped jig. But some component information. The keepers are very sharp. The flat end of the keepers are very sharp, and there's 3 of them, so they're going to keep your bait. If you put a dab of super glue on there, it's not coming off. It's got a sticky sharp hook, and it's very stout. So that's all really good. It's got the minnow-shaped head, which gives it some realism, but that's not the real deal here. The real deal with the shape of this head is it actually produces some side-to-side wobble in this jig head. No matter what soft plastic you put on the back of it, it has some shimmy and some side-to-side wobble, and that is very unique in a jig. So when those bass are tracking on your bait and right at the end of it and examining it, that little extra shimmy movement that's created by the shape of this head really provides some extra action. Pair that with a special bait like the Prodigy, the Cast Prodigy, and this swim bait is unique in that it has some features on it that are special to other minnow style baits. One is it's got an oversized tail. One other unique feature is the shape of the fins and the body on it, and the gills actually produce some side-to-side shimmy as well. So if you've got a jig head that's shimmying side to side and you have a swim bait that produces some shimmy side to side, you really have a special combination there. The other unique thing about the Prodigy swim bait from Cast is that there is a little compartment in the front of it that you can either put a tungsten nail weight, or what's in it out of the package is a rattle. And that's a unique feature in a swim bait when you're trying to get something to stand apart. If this thing's wobbling, the jig head's wobbling, and this rattle is rattling, it's creating an attraction that most other finesse swim baits don't create. So my go-to combination for a finesse swim bait is the Sixth Sense Finesse swim head that wobbles, and Cast's Prodigy swim bait that also wobbles. And I do one thing on these things special when I'm hooking them up. I don't want to take that color. I'm going to take that's one of my favorite colors. This right here, by the way, is a nice color. If you stuck around this far, you also find out that that's a good color. And that color is their cider. And then I'll show you something with a color that I don't quite use as much. This is their Reaper color. But it's what I will do when I'm rigging this thing is I'll take the eyeballs right off. They're nice eyeballs, but what I want on this thing is I want it to match up to that minnow head jig real nice. So I peel the eyeballs back, and then really I'm cutting that thing right about at the back of the eyeball slot. Just cut it flat off. And then when you thread that onto the jig head, you're going to get a result that matches up to the jig head and gives you a nice profile, then taper down profile that matches the rest of the way. So the finished product like that is going to give you a whole bunch of shimmy back and forth when you're reeling this thing. So it just doesn't kick through the water like a typical jig and say a Kitech would. This whole thing is going to wobble because of the jig head and the shape of the bait and the action in the bait. So a great option. It's something different than your standard finesse bait. Check it out. You'll be happy you did. Hope that tip was helpful. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time on the water.